Louisiana, Mr. Ackel! Thank you. I'd like to get in just a moment of silence for our president of the company and the Rolling Tide, whatever they call it, the Crimson Tide, for Monday night, because they are playing LSU, the Louisiana State. And I was going to wear my Louisiana jersey today, but I decided not to do that. You know, I had a flashback when I came in late, as you saw that, and I apologize for that, but I got confused on the time. And that flashback took me back 30 years ago. We were doing a meeting in San Francisco. I got confused on the time. I said, my goodness gracious, we had 12,000 people at that event. So I come running around, down the hall, and the first door I saw, a lot of people, I just ran in, and I ran about 10 steps before I found out. I looked up on the wall, it says, Alcohol Anonymous. It's a true story. And I was too far in there to just kind of turn around and go back. I was embarrassed. I had people looking at me. And so I just started kind of taking my time easing back. And they had two guys on stage who was talking, and the first thing they said caught my attention. And he took two bottles, and he set two bottles up on the counter. One of them was water, and one of them was a high-octane whiskey. And he was making a point. He said, now let me show you something. So he took this little vial out, and he dropped this worm in this bottle of water. And that little worm scooted across right up the side of that bottle, over the bottle, and down the side, and on his way he went. The guy picks the worm up, and he drops him in that 90-proof whiskey. And the little worm made about 2 scoops, and he dissolved. And he said, now what does that tell you? And this guy stood up in the back. He said, if you drink good whiskey, you'll never have worms. So I watched the guy take something that was real negative and turn it into a positive. And that's kind of my story. Not the worm, trying to turn everything into a positive. Because folks, if I told you my story, I wouldn't do it. Because they would have to pass Kleenexes out. And that has a little humor in it, but it has a lot of reality in it. Because we didn't understand the word poverty. I never heard that before. We knew it as poor. P-O-R-E. How do you spell poor? P-O-R. And I don't have a lot of education, as you probably already figured that one out. And, but in 1955, we had no vehicle. Never had a vehicle. I went all through school. Nobody in my family, in my immediate family, had an automobile. And that ain't long ago. And I had a friend of mine living on the other side of the town they had money, a brand new car, and invited me to go to Watertown, New York. I didn't know where that was, had never heard of it or anything else. That's where Niagara Falls is. They invited me to go on that trip, and folks, I promise you, I thought I died and went to heaven. First time I ever heard of a pizza. First pizza I ever ate in my life. And I decided in that trip that, man, how could this be? How can anybody have this much? How can anybody be so fortunate and so lucky compared to where we were? It was unmatched. I made up my mind right then. If I got a choice,
hey, Barry.
yes, Very good, very good. By the way, who won that game last night, Arkansas? Anyway, guys, I decided right then that, listen, this is the lifestyle I want. And I didn't know what it was going to take to do it. I was a terrible student. I went to the first grade, the second grade, the third grade, the third grade. True story. True story. But one of the things I learned in school that 1 and 1 is not 2, it's 11. And I've applied that in my life. I tried to make the most of whatever it was. I just didn't know what the vehicle was. Barely got it. I was a pretty fair basketball player. In fact, I was made all-state the senior year. I got a scholarship to 2 colleges. Didn't take time to go to the second one. I went to the first one for a week. True story. Louisiana Tech is a scholastically known school. I mean, there's engineers, they're smart, and that's where I'm going to go, right? So I did go up there. I did stay a week, but I really quit mentally the second day. I had a professor driving a Volkswagen making $12,000 a year, and she should have never told me that because that's the day I quit. You ever heard the saying, if you want to be a back champ, you can't listen to a 200 hitter? Well, that's where I was. I didn't want to be no $12,000 a year. I wanted to earn all the money. I wanted to live like those people that I saw go to New York, go on a vacation every year. That was my goal. That was my dream. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I had no clue. But I knew I wasn't going to get it from a lady earning $12,000 a year, so I broke out in a hard run. I joined the service. One of the best things I ever did. I went over there as a kid, come back as a big kid. But I went over there, and they sent me to Europe. Do you know what I was doing? I was drawing a check for $72 a month, and I had an allotment going to my home for $50 a month. Think about that. What's 50 from 72? And what happens if you pay $8 in tax? Don't leave you much money. That's what I had to operate on. How am I going to do this? You know what I did? I got a little bit creative. I started lending money. You know what I did? I wrote home and I said, Mother, would you please do me a favor? And I'll make it up just would you please send me one of those $50 checks back? And she did. I turned that into a little lending business I had there. And the first of every payday, I was standing in line. I loaned money 5 for 9 early, and that was I just saw a different way. Nobody else was doing it. I said, golly, why isn't everybody standing in line loaning money? You make this kind of money. I developed it. I had enough money when I got out to buy me a brand new 1964 and a half Mustang. Woo! A yellow one. I was in Amsterdam, and we were on leave. And I saw this thing, it looked like a rocket sitting there. It was that orange. Y'all remember that orange color that came out, that Ford color, that orange? And I said, what in the world? This thing landed from Mars, because it was a future car. I never seen anything like it. Looked like Mustangs. I got to have one of those. So that's what I did. But I got a yellow one. And the way it really happened, I sent through the services, I sent money back. And then when I got to New York, I was supposed to drive it home. So I flew to New York. From Germany, they flew us back. And then when I got to New York, it was delayed 2 weeks. Nothing in the world was going to keep me another day from being in my home in Alexandria, Louisiana. I don't care what it was. So they gave me my money back. I got home. First day I got home, I bought that car. About that time, somebody invited me to go take a look at it. One of these things. Never even heard of it. And that was a godsend. That was a godsend. And I went to Dallas, Texas. And the gentleman that headed that company up literally changed my life. He wasn't there, this is his home right here, Orlando, Florida. There has never been a greater motivator on the face of this earth other than Jesus than this particular individual. It was spellbounding when I first heard him. Had a hair lip. Some of you already know who I'm talking about. But came from a very, very, very poor sharecropper's son. Wasn't as poor as I was. I had to be there. But I got involved with them and became the top money earner with that company. We did things that you didn't even dream about. Other people dreamed. We did a meeting in Alexandria, Louisiana. We did a meeting in Bryan, Texas. We did a meeting in Tucson, Arizona. We did a meeting in California the same day. How do you do that? Not by telephone, not by three-way. We did it with the Learjet. I mean, it was incredible. They were carrying me too fast. But I got so sold on the industry, and that great industry was nothing about what you heard the last 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 speakers talk about. Whatever you see and hear and read, the most of is what you become. And this was Mr. Glenn W. Turner. This is home right here. I've been down here 15 or 20 times because we have conventions down here. I was honored to do an opening deal. You all remember the Rice twins? They were the shortest twins out there. You know what happened? They were destined to be freaks in the sideshow. Glenn W. Turner got them and motivated them and said, look, you can be whatever you want in life. We traveled and spoke together in San Francisco. You know what I used to do him? I'd pick him up on the arms and set him up on the table so he was this tall. He was getting $3,000 for an hour talk. Oh yeah, if I was a midget, they didn't like the word, that's what it was back then. If I was a midget, I could do it too. Isn't that amazing? They were grown, had it all, but they said, well, if I was this way, I could do it. That business went away. That's all I knew. Network marketing. It spoiled me, it ruined me by being the top money earner. And I was having fun. And in the midst of the most ridiculous amount of money back that 35 years ago, folks, it was crazy. And since then, I've applied those principles that I learned at first. Thank God that's the first one I got involved with. I took those principles, I learned those, and I've been a top earner. I've been the top earner in 5 different companies. I've always reached every company that we've been in, applying those principles became as high as a level as you could get. Now, I would get involved and I would get committed. I hate the way people accept that. They don't understand the true meaning of commitment. They get committed and involved in what they are mixed up. You know the difference between committed and involved? Let me tell it to you. It's like ham and eggs. The chicken was involved, but the pig was committed. Major difference. I try to cover, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to all these great speakers and coming up with all these things and sitting out there and saying, what in the world am I saying? Did I say it? But there's 2 ladies other than my wife and my mother that are heroes of mine. And Mother Teresa and Helen Keller. They asked her one day, Helen Keller. They said, Miss Keller, let me ask you a question. What in your mind could be worse than being blind? And she never took a second breath. She said, having sight and no vision. Is that powerful?
Big.
That explains why everybody in this room is sitting exactly where you're sitting tonight. Or today, whatever this is. I always heard this cute little joke, a little saying that's talking about, I had the great opportunity of being on stage with Zig Ziglar in San Francisco. I'm trying to think of the gentleman who opened the national anthem. I got him involved in our program there. He said, how would you like to open this thing? There's Zig Ziglar on it. There are great motivational speakers on there. Zig wasn't quite as popular then as it is today, or it has been in the last 10 years. But I was honored to be on there. And one of the things I heard then, how many times have you called somebody and said, I can't be there? And how many times you call them back and say, wait a minute, everybody that comes, they give them $10,000 to. What time does it start? And so that cake's just a smoke screen. I love to say, Kate never could do nothing until she married Wooden, and they had a bunch of little don't-want-tos. so that's vision. Guys, let me tell you something. Everything you heard today and everything you apply today, it's all going to come into one thing. It's not easy. I hate for anybody to get on this stage and tell you it's easy. It's not easy. It's simple, though. It's very, very, very simple. Because anybody can do it. I heard all those people on the stage come over, and I congratulate them. We got the 50, because some of them said, well, I did this. But it wasn't easy. They just stayed up, they just grinded around the clock to make it happen, because they went to work and they paid the price. Everything has a price. Everything has a price. I'm going to give you a little quick synopsis of that. How many of you want to go to heaven? Can I see your hands? Everybody in the room. Now watch this. Turn around and look at the hands. How many of you want to die? Wait a minute, guys. You don't just zip up that name, but a few people have done that. You got to die before you can go to heaven. You want to be a good networker? Become a great storyteller. I'm a good storyteller, man. I tell you, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Become a good storyteller. I got stories that occur here. I've already picked up some stories from here that I'll be applying tomorrow and the next day and the next day until I hear one better. You know, one of my great stories that I get to based in and tell, we've done something that's never happened in networking before. Yeah. Right here. Went to Lafayette, Louisiana, did a very first meeting with the company down there, and we had about 10 or 12 people there, a bunch of kids. Oldest one was 22, the youngest one was 18, Brian Robert. I tell this story until I die. Then I'm going to tell it up there. Well, don't let me get off there. I want to share something with you. Y'all know the Bible, the whole Bible is written on stories so people can understand it and all that stuff. Y'all know who Jonas was, right? He was on the ship, and he said it's probably his fault, so you better throw me overboard. Well, they threw him overboard, and remember the big old fish, the whale gobbled him up, and stayed in his belly 3 days. This is all story in the Bible. And then the guy said, one guy was talking to another guy, telling him that, he said, oh man, that can't be true. He said, well, I don't know. He said, well, when I go to heaven, I'll ask him. The guy said, yeah, what if he's not in heaven? He said, then you ask him. I was on another story for Oh yeah, the kids. And one of the ladies came up to me and asked me, how's your son in Utah? I said, well, actually, it's not my son, but he's like my son. I honor him for saying, of all people, I'm his mentor. I mean, that's wonderful coming from this kid. 18 to 22. The highest educated one there was, an open elementary school, was a DJ. His name was Nathan Hanks. 22 years old. That very first year, because of those kids, we had 20 kids, the oldest was 22, that's Nathan, earned a 6-figure income in one town, Lafayette, Louisiana. Nathan's worth around $15–16 million now. You know what happened? Stephen went from DJ to making the kind of money he made. He was the top money earner out of that group of kids and made $300,000 or $400,000 his first year, folks. And that got his thinking up. And once you get your thinking up, your pocketbook goes up, your check goes up. That's why these meetings are so powerful. The greatest building step in network marketing are the big conventions. Because you get to meet a lot of people, hear a lot of great stories. You get your belief level up, and again, when your belief level goes up, your check goes up. Never seen no like that. I watch people leave one of these and go home and do something to the same person that told them no before they left. How many of you would like to have, if you could pick 50 of your people here at this meeting for the last 2 days? Woo! What do you think would happen to your check 2 weeks from now, next week, or 3 weeks from now?
Big time.
Well, you ought to put that on your goal sheet. You ought to be on your goal sheet. Because what you're going to, I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are, the speaker, the owner, doesn't make any difference. You're going to have a high belief level when you leave this today, because I've been doing it for 35 years, and already it's obvious my belief level is high as it was back then. So take advantage of these things. Make it a point. I mean, put them on the line. Well, I try to, I'm terrible for reading my own writing. I can't read, so I'm going to push them on the side. I don't read real good anyway. But let me just tell you something, folks. Have you ever heard the saying, documentation beats conversation? You ever, the story's got so much truth to it other than the humor part. Don't go there with the switch. Well, how many of you actually knew these facts? I can't tell you how important. I don't know if I'd have been able to recruit one person without this. I lean on it. Because when I can sit down and show somebody where they are and where they're going, and here it is documented by Social Security Board and U.S. Department of Labor, the doubt leaves. Then the why comes in. Well, maybe I better pay attention. Maybe I better do this. And I can go back, and I said it last night or whenever I was at that meeting up here the other night that showed me where you were 2 years ago. I've become kind of I don't know what you call it, magical, fortune teller, whatever. But I can pretty much dictate. And you know what? Do you know what, folks? I'm going to be right 98% of the time. Now, that's a bad light. But I'm going to be right 90% of the time. I'm going to show it to you. I asked the question right here tonight. How many of you in this room are planning on being financially independent at age 65? Now, I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. How many of you are planning not to be? You know what happens? We're going to get up in the morning, in most cases, the world, not talking about you because you guys made the decision to come down here. I'm talking about the rest of the world, every city USA, in the morning at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, they're going to be driving in traffic, going to work, doing what they did yesterday or the year before and the year before, the same thing they're going to be doing next year and the next year and the next year. And the greatest test in the world is to sit down and get your financing together right now and look at it and say, now, can I quit today and live on what I'm looking at, live my lifestyle? We know the answer to that. I can tell you right now, 98% says no. So what are you going to do about it? Somebody's going to wake them up. Because there's no doubt, the saddest figure you're ever going to hear is on here. 85% of the people making on possess $250. Don't possess as much as $250 after working all like getting kicked in the rear end by a boss or by somebody else. Tell them what to do when they can drink their coffee. Man, listen, when I want to drink my doggone coffee, I want to drink my coffee. I don't have to wait till 10 o'clock or 3 o'clock when the coffee break comes up. I may not be hungry at lunch. I may not want to eat lunch. You got somebody dictating and tell you what to do all your life. We'll get used to it. Here's my Bible, another part, another page, I should say. I mean, you sit down with a professional, you sit down, you don't do it, you got to figure out who you're talking to. It's no doubt about our program, our product. There's no doubt there, is that right? Right. The biggest doubt that you're going to get is somebody getting one of these pyramid schemes. Until you educate them. 99% of people don't have a clue when they call a pyramid scheme. Don't have a clue what it is. And when you got a book, when you got a guy like him who's a renowned financial futurist, that's sitting here telling you in the year 2000, the best opportunities of the new millennium is two factors. It's called network marketing. It's number one because it produces more millionaires than any other company out there. Number one. Number two, the second best opportunity of the new millennium is the internet, and that's what we do. That's what we do, the number one and the number two. And then we do it with something that everybody's got to have or they're going to die. They're all going to die, they're going to die a lot sooner. I mean, it's just, it doesn't make sense. And then you sit there talking to that same person and you show them one of the largest circulated magazines in the world. Do you know how long this magazine's been around, home-based business? A long time. In fact, here's a home-based business in the year 2000 that because of that bear story, my wife and I was in this magazine. And I don't use this. I don't use it because it sounds like a little bit like a brag, and that's terrible. But I let my downline use it. I let my downline use it and said, listen, you need to look at one of my emails that those people up like right here. They'll print an email, people come out of the woodwork to come listen to the guy they're talking about. I just happen to. They're shocked when they get there after all the good they told me when I showed up. It's called edification. Edification. This edifies our company. Do y'all know that this takes in over 2,000 MLM companies? And to be the company of the month, and have your story, you let an intelligent businessman look at this and he's going to be involved or he ain't intelligent. And how about this one? We're talking about Walmart. Wow, the largest retailer in the world jumping in our industry. Only thing is Walmart is paying. I mean, guys, again, documentation beats conversation. This has been around a long time. You guys in network marketing have all read these over and over and over again. This is one of my hot pieces right here. I dare not do a meeting without when I'm sharing this with you right now. And listen, did you hear Gary say last night we had 100% closing? You know why? Not because of what we did, because of that lady and her husband and her daughter and that group in Arkansas. We went to her first meeting and it was 47 people there. We signed up, guess how many? 48. That's 47. 47. 100%. Didn't we say, well, wait, we're going to do it tomorrow? No. Turn those computers on. You know what they did? They had a meeting the next day at a Mexican restaurant. Guess how many people was there? 54. Guess how many signed up? How many, Pauline? Then we left there and drove to Springfield, Missouri, and we did a meeting at an ice cream shop that had 40 people there. 100%. Why? Because not so much, well, God, everybody, that's a cinch. You're going to do it anyway. I don't want to get it. You heard that 10,000 times. It's money you spend anyway. That's not why they got involved. They got involved because they saw that if they didn't change, if their why wasn't big enough, if they didn't want something better for It's over 1,000 times. I think I'm not even qualified to quote that guy. But you heard 4 or 5 times in the last 2 speakers the definition of insanity. I'm not even going to say it. You've heard it. But it's doctrine, it's facts. And if you don't believe it, just keep doing what you've been doing. And when you wake up down the road, peace, you can say, well, boy, those things you show those articles really work. Had a great trip. I'm fixing to drop Mark off at the airport and head to God's country. That's Louisiana. But I wanted to tell you, I love these functions. I love to be around people. And let me just share something with you. Guys, a tool that hadn't been mentioned a whole lot. I know, see, I'm still old school. I don't know much about a computer. That's my fault. If I'd have stayed in school, I'd probably learned something, but I'd probably have a JLB right now. And I never had one of those. Never had a JLB. Y'all know what the JLB means. That's why I never had one. They told me that. I did learn that school, just over the road. And then you know what comes with the JLB? It's another reason. A BOSS. You know what that is spelled backwards, don't you? Double SOB. I'm a close with the little story. It makes a lot of sense. There was this bee flying around minding his own business in this pasture, and he lit on this clump of clover. And there was a cow grazing right next to him. And it just so happened, the unlucky bee, to a degree, lit on this piece of clover that the cow was fixing to consume. And the cow got it and swallowed that bee. And it upset the bee to no end. He said, I'm going to teach this sucker a lesson. I'm going to sting her everywhere I can see. I'm going to sting her on the gizzard, the liver, the heart, the tongue, the neck. She will never swallow another bee. So the bee sits back and thinking about it. I'm going to think about it, he said. Puts his little paws behind his head, thinking about it, and he went to sleep. And when he woke up, the cow was gone. We'll get there in a minute, guys. We were doing a meeting in New York, another true story. We were doing a meeting in New York, and this guy up there from New York, you know, the city guy, they don't know a whole lot about it. And I told that, he just sitting there, stone faced, and we were rooming together. And about 2 o'clock that morning, I heard the loudest noise. And then I jumped straight up to the bed and said, where are they at? He said, I got it. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure. Let me leave a great tool. I was telling you about that. My deal is old school, and most people's not going to do what I do. I pay the price because we travel we drive probably as much or more than anybody. But we like to do meetings. We like to do it because you can touch people, you can visit with them, you can share with them, and that's why people get involved, because we got great leaders like I have that's willing to get them there because of that credibility. They get involved in it. It's pretty simple. But let me tell you a great tool that I don't think is used enough. I heard a couple of people say it. This is probably the best information I'd give you up here. Is your three-way call. It's a very powerful. I know all the people here do it, but let me just tell you the proper way to do it, in my opinion. It's proper edification, number one. Proper edification, number one. Don't just call and say, hey, Bear, I got somebody on the other line. Would you mind sitting? Wrong way. How do you know I'm not sitting in front of somebody right now doing something, or at lunch or in church or whatever the case may be? So you set that up. You make it businessman. You set it up, and then if I got Pauline down here that's going to do my talk to lady, because I sell those ladies. I got 2 ladies in Arkansas, just 3 ladies in Arkansas, just burning it up, and I sell them everywhere I go. But I want you to speak. Let me tell you what, Sally. If I can run down Miss Pauline Dillard, if I can run her down, it's going to be tough because she is so busy. I would like for her to share just a little bit with you. Now let me tell you about Pauline. She's been in Success Magazine. She's a top money earner with these companies. She's traveled all over the world. She's been in Europe with the program. Now when I get through selling Pauline, they're going to think she walks on water. And that's my point. So when she talks, they listen. If you want to know something about basketball, then you call Rob. He don't know anything about basketball. Well, I got Rob so-and-so. Who's Rob? Well, I got Michael Jordan. Are you going to listen a little better? Well, that's what you got to do. You got to make the Michael Jordan. You got to make the Michael Jordan out of the person that you're calling. And I promise you, your percentages will be astronomical. We're some ridiculous number of 95%. Now, there ain't no way that we can do you do your downline. You do your downline. Or you do it on a conference call when you can touch a lot more people. Promote the meeting. We're going to be all through Arkansas in the next 6 weeks because in the next 2 weeks, that lady's going to be a diamond. And I'm going to commit to all of you tonight